Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 8 of my How to Make Video Games tutorial series. In this part of the tutorial, we're going to start making Tetris. And one of you guys asked me, the next time I make a game, to start from scratch. To literally not think about the game, don't pre-plan, don't do anything, just make the game right here live in the video. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Like always, all the code and the images used here will be available in the description underneath this video, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to start off by basically trying to figure out what we want to do with Tetris. So there's numerous different types of Tetris, and basically there's just a whole bunch of blocks inside of a grid system. So let's look here. From looking at these, I can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on average, almost every single Tetris game has 10 grid spaces across the bottom and roughly 20 going up. So that's what we're going to base our system off of. And they all have a similar sort of look and feel in this sort of 3D type of cube thing. So I'm going to create that inside of Gimp. Alright, so here is Gimp, and I'm going to set up everything here just so everything works. So we got our pen tool. I'm going to change this to 1 pixel. I'm going to change my size to 1, and my dynamics is going to be set to dynamics off. My eraser should have taken all those on. Yes, it did. And that's basically all I have to do. So, what do I want to do? So I have 10 across the bottom, 20 across the top. Why don't we just make a 20 pixel by 20 pixel cube and see what that looks like. So I'm going to go 20 by 20. I don't need to do anything with transparencies or anything this time because I have... I'm going to completely fill, the graphic. So let's zoom in here. And basically we had this indentation sort of thing. So what I want to do here is I want to use my pencil tool. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select a color. I'm going to have everything be gray and then I'm going to colorize them inside of Unity. So let's come in here and let's just get a very light gray color, something like that. Click on OK. And then basically the way these are set up is it's like indentations like this. So I'm going to draw this in, and this will be the lightest gray that I'm going to use. Is it? I don't know. That doesn't look very gray, does it? Well, actually, let's change it to white, and then I'm going to change my color from that point. So let's go and have this be like 93. I don't know. It looks kind of good. Okay, so let's go 1, 2, 3. There, that looks much better. So let's draw our little cube inside of here. And then for the next part, I will just make it slightly darker on this screen. So I'm just dragging it in here with the pencil tool inside of Gimp. You can use Photoshop, whatever you want. I just like to use free tools so that everybody can use it. Click on this once again, and we'll make it a little bit darker. Let's say something like 88, and that looks good. And color in all of these guys. And do the same thing here at the bottom of the screen. And there we go. And have that all set up. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to have this basically cover this edge. And then I'm going to have this guy cover this edge and so forth and so on. So then we'll come in and change our color. And we'll make this just a little bit darker still. I don't know, 80 or something. And then color this in. So then this one's going to cover this bottom edge. Just color that all in, and 2, 4. I think you get the idea of what I'm doing here. Okay, got that all set up, and then make it a little bit darker still. Take it to like 72 or something, and then do this for the final part. So then this is going to take up the bottom corner, and then take it right up to that area, and then fill this in. Alright, so this is my basic cube that I'm going to build everything off of. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to have the inside grid also be, and I just pressed the O key so that I could select this. I'm going to have the surrounding area is also going to be made up of these cubes, just to keep things nice and simple. But at the same time, I think that will have a good look. Let's take this down to like 90 or something, and then fill in the center of the cube. Once again, lowercase n, and there, that looks about right. So let's just draw that in there. And I'm probably going to get a lot of the graphics done in this video, and then in the next video, we will try to spin the shapes around and move them around inside of our little box that we have. But we'll see what happens. Basically, it's just as long as it's going to take. All right, then I'm going to export this. So export as... And I'm going to throw this in my documents folder like I did previously. So let's go documents. Obviously, you can put them wherever you want. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Tetris Assets, because that makes sense to me. And we will call this cube, and it's a ping file. If the ping isn't selected, just come down here and select ping with that. But that all works for me, and I'm gonna hit export. And then a little window is gonna pop up, and then I'll just click on export again. So there we go. We have all that set up, and now we're going to jump over into Unity and create our Tetris application. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna click on new, and I'm gonna call this Tetris, and let's make it uppercase Tetris. It's going to be a 2D game, obviously. I have to decide where I want to put this. And everything works exactly the same on Windows and Mac OS, so use whatever you want to use. And I'm going to go find my stuff inside of here, and my documents folder, and Unity. And then inside of here, I'm going to create a new folder, and I am going to call it Tetris. And then I'll drag everything inside of there. There's Tetris, and then we'll say select folder. And then we'll go create project. All right, so we have everything set up. If you want the same layout I have, just click on layout and 2x3, but you can do whatever layout you want. Very first thing I always do is I come in and I create all of my folders. So I'm gonna have my sounds folder, and I'm going to also have my sprites folder, which is where all my images are gonna be at. And I'm gonna have a scenes folder, and what else do we need? Folder. Prefabs, and is there anything else that yeah, scripts, obviously. And then I think that's it. So scripts. And that's where all my C# code goes. All right, so we got all that inside of there. Now I need to go and get my cube. And here's Tetris Assets. And I'm gonna grab my cube right out of the folder and drop it into my sprites folder. So that's all set up. And if I click on sprites, you're gonna see the cube shows up right there. All right, so what's the very first thing I wanna do? Well, let's go and get our camera, and let's set our background to black. And that's very simple. Just do that, and then like that. And then I am going to want to create my borders that are going to go across the top, the sides, and the bottoms. So I have to think about how am I going to set this up. And I have the size for my camera. Let's set this to 20 right now, and we'll just see how things work out there from that point. So I want to create a whole bunch of walls. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go create empty, and I'm going to call this horizontal wall, and then I'm going to create another one, and I'm going to call it vertical wall. And then I'm going to create the rest of these. These are end up going to be prefabs that I'm going to drag over and then make a top, right, left, bottom wall out of these guys. So I'm going to go start off with horizontal wall first, and I have my positions all set for 0 on those. And I'm going to grab a cube, and I'm going to drag it and drop it right here. Now what we have to do now is think about what we want to do with these cubes. Now I'm going to have 20 open blocks up, and I'm going to have 10 blocks to the outside. So what I think I want to do is my top and my bottom walls, I want them to be 12 wide to accommodate for the 20 spaces up. So my horizontal walls are going to be 12 in size. So I'm going to duplicate this 12 times, or actually 11 times, just so I have a total of 12. Okay, so I have all of those all set up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one. This is going to be at the 0, 0 mark on our screen, and then I'm going to duplicate it from that point onwards. Oh, one thing that I'm going to need to do is, you may have noticed, you can't see the cubes on here. Well, the reason why, I'm going to have to select the cube here, and I'm going to have to come over, and I'm going to set it. These are 20 by 20. 20 pixels by 20 pixels in size. So what I want to do is I'm going to have pixels per unit be set to 20, and then just like before, because this is pixel art, I'm going to set this to point, and that's all set good, and I'm going to click on apply, so that applies. There, now you can see a cube inside of there, so that looks a lot better. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each one of these, and I'm going to move them to the right side. So I'm going to select this first cube, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to increase this to 1. So I got that set. And then I'm going to select the next one, and I'm going to change it to 2 and 3. And you're going to see they're growing across the screen. All right, so let's just do that for all of the different cubes that we have here, so we can make that horizontal wall. And this one is going to be 11. So there we go. I have them all set up and they all are stretching across the screen. So now what I can do is close that, and I'm going to create a prefab. So I'm going to go horizontal wall, drag it to prefabs, throw it inside of there, and then delete this off our screen, and then we can make our vertical wall. I'm going to do basically the same exact thing we did previously. We're going to grab our cube and drag it over here and drop it in the vertical wall. And then this time I want this to be 20 in size. So I'm going to make 19 duplicates of this. And there you go. Got my 19 duplicates. And this time I'm going to have to increase the Y. So I'm going to change this to 1. And you're going to see it grew. So let's go and zoom in here so you can see a little bit better what's going on. Move out a little bit. There we go. So then we'll select the next cube. And we'll change that to 2, and the next one's going to be 3, and so forth. And then we'll have 17, and then we will have 18. Or actually, I want these to be 20 in size, so that would only be 19, so I want to make one more duplicate here, and then let's change this to 19. So now there are a total of 20 cubes altogether. So we're going to close that, and once again, we're going to drag this over into our prefabs folder, and we're going to delete it off of here. Now what we can do is we can go and create those walls that we want. So I'm going to have a vertical wall. Just going to drag it from the prefab section over here. I'm going to grab another vertical wall, drag it inside. Well, I don't want it to go in that wall though. Let's go and change the size of this first. So my vertical wall, this is going to be left wall is what I'm going to call that. And that's good. Grab another vertical wall, drag it in there, and this will be right wall. So let's just get this. There's right wall. And then I'm going to have my horizontal wall. So let's drag that in there. And this guy is going to be top wall. And then I'm going to grab another horizontal wall, and this will be bottom wall. And I'm going to try to line these up here as good as possible because I have to keep them nice and tight so that they don't bounce, so that, the squares don't bounce off of each other. All right, so I have all of these inside of here. I'm going to select my left wall, and I'm going to zoom out here on the screen so I can see what's going on. Let's select the main camera. 20 doesn't look right in this situation. Let's take it down to 12 or something. Looks a little bit better. All right, so I'm just eyeballing this. Like I said, I have no idea what's going on. So we're going to select this now, and we'll go and select all these individual cubes that we have inside of here. I'm going to grab them, and I'm just going to eyeball them for right now because I don't know exactly how they're going to line up. So I'll go and get my right wall, drag it out of there, and then I will get the horizontal. Now, the way I had this set up, this 12 crossed and 20 up. That means that the main ones are going to be the top wall and the bottom wall. So I'm going to grab that, grab all those guys, and these are going to be the ones that really, really matter. We'll go and move it up. I don't know. Like I said, it's not going to matter right now. I'm going to line them up based off of each other here after I get them all set up. And let's select our bottom wall and move it out of the way as well. Just move it out of the way and then get the other ones in there. All right, so got all that set up. Now I'm going to get my left wall and I'm going to line it up with the top part here. So I'm going to get this and then I'm going to zoom in and really get it perfect. So I have that set up. I'm going to come up here and get this little guy here. That's going to allow me to very, very precisely line these up. So let's see here. That's just about perfect. And the left is just about perfect. So I was just lucky there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and get the right wall and line it up and then line all of them up all at the same time. So let's go in here, grab this, drag it over, and that looks perfect. And we'll move it down a little bit, and that looks perfect. All right, good. So now let's get the bottom wall. And we'll line it up, and then we'll line them all up at the same time. So let's get this. That's not perfect. It's okay. It'll be perfect here in a second. And there we go. Now they're all lined up. Now I just want to try to center all of these guys together here so that they all look good. So let's get that. And let's put it in the center right where the camera is. See, the camera's right there. So there we are. And this is just going to constrain that. And I think that looks pretty close. Now let's move that up. And there we go. So that should be exactly in the center of the screen. This looks fouled up in the game window, but it doesn't look bad there. Let's go and play and see what it looks like. Yes, it's off. So, that's a little weird. So let's move this guy over a little bit and the top one down slightly. So let's get the, top wall, and we'll zoom in here a little bit so we can see. And We'll select this little guy right here, move it down just a bit. There we are. And then get the right wall and move it in just slightly. And there that is. And we'll move it in just a little bit. And we'll move it in just a little bit more. And that should be about perfect. And we can play it just to see. And everything looks good. All right, so we got all of our walls all properly set up, and we can close all these for now, and then we can start worrying about other stuff. Now what I want to do is come in here and create our interface. So I'm going to come up here to create and UI and text, and that's going to create our canvas. And I'm going to have next be on the left side and score be on the right side. Next is going to show the next shape that's going to appear. So let's go next, but this is just going to be a label. So let's call this next label. All right, so we'll select that guy. And what are we going to have? We're going to have the text be next. That's what it's going to say. And let's see where everything is at here on our screen. You can see there is our canvas. It's huge. And we're going to have to select that. And we're going to change the render mode to world space. And I'm going to set my dynamic pixels per unit to 10. And everything else here, at least right at the very moment, is okay. And let's change our position to 0, 0 so that we surround our camera on the screen with our canvas. And there that is. And then the size is obviously completely wrong, right? So let's go in here. Whoop. Now I'm zooming out just so I can see the canvas. See, the canvas is absolutely huge. Let's bring the canvas down so that it's considerably smaller. So here is our width and height for our canvas. I'm going to change the width to 40 and the height to 40 just to see what it looks like. And the canvas is, it needs to go down just a little bit. So let's make that 30. That's better. And then let's have the width be 50. See if that works. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So 55. There we go. So now we have a canvas that looks a little bit better. So we're going to zoom in here, and there is the canvas surrounding our camera. Looks better. Now we'll worry about our next label and positioning that. Now where is it actually? We zoom way out of here, and you can see it's way down here. See? There it is. There's our next label. So we got to move that guy way up here, closer to the screen, and closer to where we want it to go. And some of you guys have been having trouble with your text being all blurry. I'm going to show you some ways that you can fix that. What you basically want to do is you want to scale your text mainly here. This is where you're mainly going to define how big the text is going to be, and then keep your font size small. If you do that, then things are going to look nicer. So we want this to be bold, and I'll worry about font space after I figure out how far to scale it. And then I want this to be white, since it's a black background. So this is going to be white, and there that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm mainly going to scale it using the scale tools over here. And that needs to go down big time. So let's try 0.2. 0.2 and 0.2 and see how that looks. All right, see, look at that. It's already looking doggone close. And you can see my text. See my text down here in the lower left-hand side of the screen? Looks pretty good, doesn't it? That's because I'm scaling it with scale and not trying to scale it with the font size. That's a mistake a lot of people make. And I made it, and that's just how I figured it out. All right, let's take the width down on this guy so it's not so big. Let's take it down to, say, something like, I don't know, 22, and just something. And height, let's take it down to 10. And where is it? Oh, there it is. Well, that's not good. So let's select it again. And let's increase the width on this. And why don't we just eyeball it here this way? Let's take it down this way. That looks a little bit better. Let's take it down to 50. That looks about perfect. All right, so we'll have the width be 50 and the height be 30. And I'm just, that box is what I'm messing with. And let's zoom in here so we can see it a little bit better on our screen. And grab it and move it over here. And I'm going to have it be sort of positioned wherever. All right, so now I'm going to make a duplicate of that, and this is going to be my score label. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to change this to score. So get rid of that. Whoops, did I spell it? No. Score label, there's that. And I'm going to change this, the name of it, to score. And, whoops, let's make it all uppercase, just like we did with next. So score. And bold and white and all the other stuff is exactly the same. And then we're going to hold down the shift key so that it hopefully will stay in line. And is it going to? It's getting there. And what I want to do with this guy is I want to have it be centered, and then I'm going to make a duplicate of it, and then under that I'm going to have the other thing. I kind of want the font size of this to go down a little bit. So let's go and make it something a little bit more reasonable. There, that's 10. That looks a little bit better. And then we'll go and move this in a little bit. And this is just the beginnings, so I'm just trying to, sort of get it working so that it looks kind of good. And what I want to do here is I want to make sure that the Y axis for next is the same. So this is at 8.7 and score also 8.7. So that's good. I'm then going to, the height is way too much on this. Let's take the height way down. Let's take it down to like, I don't know, something big. How about we just make it 15? I change that to 15 and then change this also to 15. That looks pretty good. And there we are. Let's just leave it like that for now. Grab the score, have this be center alignment, and then I'm going to make a duplicate of that. So duplicate, and I'm just going to call this score, and I'm going to give this a value of 0. And this is going to be the actual score on the screen. So I got that all set up, and then we can come in here and we can grab that and put the score underneath there. So there we go, all set up. So there's the interface that we have right at the very moment. It's not perfect, but it's looking pretty good. And now what I want to do is create all of my Tetris shapes. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, and basically I'm going to do it the same way I created my walls. So I'm going to go to my sprite section, and I'm going to grab my cube, and I'm going to just throw it anywhere. It doesn't matter where it goes. Yep, I think it went inside the canvas area. Did it or it didn't? No, it didn't. Okay, good. So I have cube selected, and I'm going to have my position on this be 0, and then the position also was 0 like that. And there, I know it's in the center of the screen now. I'm going to show you a couple different little tricks here, because this is about doing some tricky stuff. So I'm going to create an empty right there. Whoops, get rid of that. Let's go and create it up here. Create empty. There, now it's good. Grab a cube, throw that inside of there. Game object, I'm going to make sure this is at 0 and this is also at 0. Once again, grab this guy, set it to 0, make sure everything's zeroed out, and everything will look a lot better this way. The math will be easier on this. And the very first thing I'm going to do is make the big cube that's made out of the 4. So I'm going to call this just O shape, because it's sort of O-shaped. So we'll go O-shape, and then I'm going to have the cube here. All of the Tetris pieces have 4 cubes inside of them to make them up. So we're going to do 4 duplicates here, this and duplicate there. And what I'm going to do is there's numerous different ways to set these up. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy right here, and then I'm going to click with my mouse. Well, it grabbed this one on the top. Doesn't matter what it grabs. Then I'm going to hold down the V key after clicking on that, and that's going to allow me to then move these into position. So let's go and let's select another one. So I'm going to select it. There you go. You can see I have cube too. I think you can. So there's Q. And then with it selected inside of here, I'm going to hold down the V key and I'm going to drag it over. See how it goes in? And then I want to go and get the final piece right here. Once again, the V key. And I think this is going to allow me. Yes, there it goes. And you're going to see all of the different pieces that go right there. And you're also going to see that as we select the individual parts of our shapes, that we're going to be changing these by 1 value. So it starts off as 0, 0, then 1, 1, then 1, 0, and then 0, 1. Okay? So we have all of those guys. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select every single one of these, and I'm going to change the color for our shapes on this. And I don't know what the standard color is for squares. So why don't we just go on the internet and find out? And you can see right here, the standard color seems to be yellow. So let's just stick with yellow, at least for now. Okay, so I have all of those selected. Then I'm going to change the color for all of them to yellow. So let's come in here and we will go and just change it to yellow. See how that turns out. And that looks to be a good enough color, so let's just leave it like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my O shape and I'm going to drag it over and drop it into prefabs. And then I'm going to delete it off the screen. And then I'm going to do this for all the other ones. So let's go and let's make a couple more. Let's try an I shape this time. So once again, I'm going to go in here and go create empty. And I'm going to call this I shape. There that is. Drop out of that. And then I'm going to get my cube and drop it right inside of there. I'm going to make 4 duplicates. So there's duplicate, duplicate, and duplicate. Grab this right here, and then I'm going to do the same thing as I did previously. So I'm just going to select this specific guy that I have right here. I'm going to hold down V, and then I'm going to move it to the right. And then I'm going to do the same thing once again. Let's grab this guy. There we are. And hold down V and drag it to the left, and then grab this again and see if I can move it over here again. I got that there. I'm going to select it again, and there we are. So we are able to go and make our eye shape this time. So that looks pretty good. Then I'm going to select all those different items, and I went and looked ahead of time what colors that I should make all of these different things, just so that we don't have to waste it or waste time doing this. And I decided to use a hex code for 0090FFF. All right, so there's a blue, and that's what color we're going to use for that guy. So once again, I'm going to get my eye shape, and I'm going to drag it over and throw it into prefabs, and then I'm going to delete it off the screen. And then I'm going to show you how to do one more of these shapes, just so I'm positive that you have it. And then I'm going to make them on my own so that you don't have to sit here and watch me do this a whole bunch of times. Next one I'm going to do is a J shape. There's J shape. I'm going to grab my cube, throw it in the J shape area, and I'm going to make a couple duplications of this. So duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. Grab all those, and let's go and select this guy right here. And I'm going to make them be flat on the top. So J shape, that's going to be this way. So I'm going to go like this, drag that over there. I'm going to select here once again and hold down to V, move it over there, and then move it over there. And then I'm going to get this guy. This is the last one, I believe. V, move it over there. I'm releasing the V, dragging it again. Releasing the V, dragging it down. So there you go. That's going to represent my J shape. And then I'm going to select all of those different guys, click on the color. And what did I want for my J shape? This is going to be 00C7FFF. And that's going to be like a cyan blue. All right, so there we go. And of course, we're going to go and get the J shape, drag it into the prefabs. There it is. Come in here and delete it. Now I'm going to go create all the rest of the shapes. And okay, so I'm finishing this up. I have a whole bunch of the shapes already set up. The last one that I'm going to set up here is my Z shape. So once again, I'm going to select this, hold down V, come over here like that. Come over here, select this one, hold down V, come over there like that. Down, and get the last guy. Get this here. Whoop, put that there. Drag it down here. Whoops, that's not good. Let's take that back. There he is, drag it down there, and there you are. So there's my Z shape, and I'm going to select all of these different guys, come over here, select the color, and then put in my final hex code. And then after I do this, I'm going to show you how I changed all the shapes when I was off camera so that you can do the same thing. And that's going to be red. Of course, come over here, grab this, drag it into prefabs, and then delete it from the scene. And there it is. And you can see there are all my prefabs. So horizontal wall, I shape, J shape, L shape, O shape, S shape, T shape, vert wall, and Z shape. Then what we can do is way down here, if you select one of these shapes in the prefab section, if you actually come down here and grab this and raise that up, you're going to be able to see a sample of those different images. So if you want your colors to look basically like what I have, you can see here I can select all of the different shapes that we have here on the screen, and you can see all of my different prefabs that I'm using and the colors that I'm using for all of my shapes. All right, so there is a lot of information. Basically, we have our entire interface set up and all of our game assets created. I was going to jump into code, but I think that's a little bit overwhelming. So in the next part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to rotate and move all of your objects within your grid system on the left and right and down and so forth and so on. And that should be a lot of fun. So like always, guys, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.